In less than 7 years, more than 450 million Indians have come online.
Today, India has over 850 million internet users.
Reliance Jio completed the fastest rollout of 5G infrastructure anywhere in the world. No power on earth can stop India from becoming a $35 trillion economy.
The primary reason is India's largest company, Reliance Industries. They built a 4G network spanning the entire country and offered the cheapest data rates on the planet. Today, Indian consumers' average data consumption rates are on par with digital-forward economies like South Korea. And most of them can thank Mukesh Ambani for taking one of the biggest bets of all time and building the Jio network. India's richest man spent more than $32 billion on Jio, with much of it spent giving away free access to the world's largest mobile data network. His race to dominate India's telecommunications market has transformed his country. It has unleashed a socio-economic revolution. For the first time, hundreds of millions of Indians can use the internet to register for benefit payments, download school textbooks, or simply watch India beat Pakistan at cricket. Jio has created an entirely new consumer class that never existed before. And the rapid growth in the telecom market has encouraged some of the world's biggest retail and technology companies to plow money into the country. Walmart bought 77% of Indian online retailer Flipkart for $16 billion in the world's largest e-commerce deal. Netflix hopes to add 100 million customers from the country. And the world's largest investors are buying into Jio. In this video, I'll cover how Jio got its start, the staggering opportunity of its future, and how Mukesh Ambani placed himself at the center of the digitization of India's economy. Jio is the perfect case study in catch-up growth. Rich countries with more money spend on research and development to get new technologies first, since they can be sold to a large middle class with disposable income. The tech gets tested, then later it can be installed in poor countries, where a low-cost, low-margin solution can achieve wide distribution. In India, the GDP per capita is climbing, but it's still less than $3,000, compared to $70,000 in the United States. Americans pay $50 a month for a 12-gigabyte data plan. Jio's users average a monthly cost of just $1.82. And hundreds of Indians are coming online at the perfect time. India recently became the world's largest country by population, with over 1.3 billion people. The median Indian is just 28 years old. In the United States, that's 38. The median Chinese citizen is 40. India is already the 5th largest economy in the world, with a $3.4 trillion nominal GDP. This makes the Indian market the most enticing in the world for both US and Chinese tech companies, which have largely saturated their home markets. However, the Indian government has historically taken a protectionist stance on its economy. This includes tariffs on electronics and bans of foreign direct investment into stuff like e-commerce. Indian regulators consistently thwart foreign tech companies, whether it be Facebook's attempts to introduce free basics and WhatsApp payments, increasing restrictions on Amazon and Flipkart's e-commerce operations, or the government outright banning TikTok due to national security concerns. Additionally, the Indian government is the largest administrative body on the planet. It is a phenomenally Byzantine maze of authorities that is nearly impossible for an outsider to navigate. And since it's a parliamentary republic, the semi-regular changes in political leadership make it even more challenging to grasp. Only a few domestic Indian companies have become proficient at navigating government relations. As a result, they have become enormous conglomerates with inroads to oligopolies in multiple industries. Reliance Industries is the biggest of the bunch. Reliance is the largest public company in India by market cap and revenue. It currently sits at number 88 in the Fortune 100. It's India's version of British Petroleum, Dow Chemical, Costco, and Verizon, all in one company. It's India's largest private taxpayer and largest exporter. It accounts for 7% of total Indian merchandise exports. It's responsible for 3% of Indian GDP and 5% of tax revenues. And Reliance has been the most widely owned stock in India since the 80s, and it recently became the second largest energy company in the world, over Exxon. When the founder and patriarch of the family business, Dhirubhai Ambani, passed away, his two sons battled for control of the business empire. Anil and Mukesh Ambani split Reliance down the middle. Anil originally received telecommunications, and the brothers signed a 10-year non-compete agreement. So how did Mukesh become the brother with the enormous mobile data network? The brothers decided to throw out their non-compete back in 2010 in an attempt at familial harmony. It didn't completely work, but it did open the door for Mukesh to make his move. That same year, in June, the Indian government began auctioning off rights to 3G and 4G spectrum. Most of the bidding focused on the 3G capability, which was better understood and easier for legacy telecom companies to roll out. Meanwhile, a little-known company called Infotel won the 4G licenses in all 22 regions, paying more than 3 times what the government had expected to receive from its bids. None of the 3G spectrum owners had a national footprint, which gave Infotel a massive advantage. At the time, Infotel had earnings of just $32,000 and a single internet subscriber, but did have the requisite bank guarantees to bid for the spectrum. How could they afford all these licenses? Well, after the winners were announced, Mukesh and Alliance swooped in and bought 95% of Infotel for $670 million. He'd used a shell company to hide his intentions and keep the market from realizing that such a wealthy investor was bidding in the auction. The key to understanding Ambani's ambitious bet is that all of the incumbent mobile operators in India were built on voice calls that layered on data as an add-on.
With the newest and the youngest member of the Reliance family, Jio.
With Jio, Ambani could build a data network, specifically 4G, from the beginning. See, 2G and 3G run traditional circuit-switched telephony services, but on 4G, voice calls are handled the same as all other data. Because everything is data, 4G networks can be built with commoditized hardware in a way that 2G and 3G networks cannot. And since Jio was exclusively a data network, voice calls were the cheapest service to offer, and the network's capacity was effectively infinite. So Jio launched with an offer so good that Indian consumers felt stupid saying no. New customers received 3 months of free data and free voice, and once that was up, kept the free voice offering permanently. Jio would charge only a couple bucks for gigabytes of data. It also marketed the offer hard. Jio sponsored 8 IPL teams, with a patch sitting prominently on 6 teams' jerseys. Jio also leveraged social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube to target younger demographics and tech-savvy users. This began India's mobile revolution, slashing data costs by 95% since 2013 and driving a 20x increase in Indian data consumption. In 4 years, Jio acquired more customers than there are people in the United States, with plenty of upside yet to be realized. By 2022, the Jio network had $52 billion in revenue and $6 billion in profit. A fantastic business. But for Ambani, those numbers are still far from paying back the $32 billion of debt he took out to build the network, let alone make any profit. That's where big tech comes in. In April of 2020, Facebook invested $5.7 billion into Jio for a 9% stake.
At Facebook, we are in the business of serving small businesses, and nowhere is this more true than in India. This is especially important because small businesses here will be a key part of the global recovery going forward, and we are focused on making sure we build the best tools for them. This is part of a much broader conversation about how we can all make sure that tech delivers for everyone. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to partner with Jio, which has played such a key role in giving hundreds of millions of Indians access to the benefits of the internet.
In May, Silver Lake, General Atlantic, and KKR collectively invested $3.3 billion. In June, the UAE and Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth funds, PPG, Catterton, and Intel followed them in. In July, Qualcomm and Google rounded out one of the greatest fundraising runs in the modern history of capitalism. With the network up and running, Reliance was able to sell just 1/3 of the business for $20.4 billion to pay down its debt, picking up strategic partners for Jio platforms and financial partners for future endeavors. The only parallel to this is Uber's 2014 to 16 fundraising sprint, where basically anyone capable of writing a $100 million check wrote one to the ride-sharing behemoth. But Uber's eye-watering capital raise diluted the founder's control of the company, and Travis Kalanick was eventually ousted by his investors in 2017. Ambani learned to avoid such a situation. See, if Reliance had raised equity financing at the beginning of the Jio project, it would have had to sell huge chunks of the business in order to raise the requisite $32 billion. Instead, Reliance took advantage of its existing balance sheet and pristine credit rating to raise debt, which is non-dilutive. In addition to taking on those institutional investors, Jio also issued an innovative $7 billion rights offering, where existing shareholders bought shares with a deferred payment plan and used that to also pay down more debt. With that flurry of fundraising, Reliance basically paid off the billions of dollars of debt it took to build out Jio. The result is that Ambani maintains firm majority control of India's largest data network. But this is still a good deal for new investors. For one, Jio has completely disrupted the telecom market. Many competitors have already quit, and the rest consolidated, leaving only Jio, Bharti Airtel, and Vodafone Idea. But only Jio is profitable, and the other two face massive tax bills after a Supreme Court ruling about how license fees should be accounted for. A monopoly for Jio is not out of the question. But for the tech firms like Facebook and Google, it gets better. Facebook has faced multiple regulatory challenges in India. Its WhatsApp payment solution could not launch broadly thanks to local data storage restrictions and because it's a foreign tech firm. Jio, on the other hand, is very close to the Modi administration and many argue has received some regulatory favors. Now, I would argue that favoring the company that offers the lowest fees and the greatest value to consumers is what a government should be doing, but hey, what do I know? Further, Reliance Industries has been navigating the Indian political bureaucracy for decades. They built the largest oil refinery in the world from the ground up and developed the institutional knowledge of things like acquiring land, licenses, and dealing with state and municipal authorities that served as the basis for building out the Jio network. Now, their network can be a reliable interface for foreign companies to invest in the Indian market. They will have to share revenue with Jio, but Jio can smooth over the regulatory hurdles that have stymied so many. But that's not enough for Ambani. He's also planning to set up more businesses to serve the hundreds of millions of customers that he's brought online in the last 7 years. It took Mukesh Ambani just 4 years to build a transformative telecommunications company, doing $10 billion in revenue on a 33% margin. By 2022, Jio did more profit than Pinterest did in total revenue. And they can continue to add more mobile users. They've launched a Jio phone that retails for less than $20. It's estimated they've already sold over 100 million phones and have a 30% market share for feature phones in India. But more customers paying you just $2 a month will only get you so far. Jio has a supremely low average revenue per user. The real opportunity lies in better monetizing the enormous customer base they've built. Here's how they plan to raise that number. Jio has adopted an integrated approach to user experience, including a suite of apps natively embedded in each phone they sell. Jio Meet is an alternative to Zoom. Jio Cinema is their own streaming service, like Netflix. Jio Money is a payment solution, like PayPal. But the most interesting in-house offering is probably JioMart. In India, there's very little formalized retail, meaning instead of Walmarts, Costco's, and Targets, there are more than 12 million Kiranas. Kiranas are small mom-and-pop shops that make up the vast majority of India's $932 billion retail economy. These Kiranas have spent a majority of their time, like most Indians, without a digital connection to their communities. JioMart aims to change that with an approach that combines a bit of Amazon, Shopify, and Uber Eats to enable these shops to do more business. JioMart launched in more than 260 towns and cities across India, physically overhauling Kiranas in 48 hours to set up and manage delivery operations, digitally track their inventory, and auto-replenish based on those inventory levels. It has also expanded to a farm-to-home offering, bringing fruits and vegetables directly from Indian farmers into consumers' homes, sort of like China's Pinduoduo. And all of this is supercharged by one of their investors. Upon announcing Facebook's investment into Jio, both Mark Zuckerberg and Mukesh Ambani cited the potential to unlock e-commerce.
At the core of our partnership is the commitment that Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, and I share for the all-around digital transformation of India and for serving all Indians. Our partnership will be a great catalyst to make India the world's leading digital society.
Since the announcement, JioMart has become the first end-to-end shopping experience on WhatsApp. Jio uses WhatsApp chat solutions to power its grocery shopping services, while simultaneously positioning WhatsApp as the super app of India. But the cherry on top is the unparalleled data advantage that Jio has to delight its customers. Since it sits at the heart of so many Indians' digital lives, it can collect enormous amounts of information about preferences in entertainment, food, work, and travel. Those insights will inevitably lead to Jio becoming India's most sophisticated advertising platform. It will just be up to Ambani and his team to execute. So what can derail this freight chain? Not much. It is still a family business, with Mukesh Ambani's children holding key positions within the firm. Maybe the string of Ambani business brilliance will come to an end, but besides that, it would require a significant geopolitical tail event to unseat the rise of the Indian economy. GDP per capita could easily climb to $4,000 or more, and Jio will be perfectly positioned to provide more goods and services to the rising Indian middle class. Hit subscribe and check out our other videos on India.